Started. Oh, we've started. Hi, friends. How you doing? Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Ayomide Aregbede, and I share tips from my experience building a career in tech. Thanks for coming back to my channel. If you're new here, please hit the subscribe button and ding the notification bell to get new updates from me when I post new videos. So last time we started a journey to become rock stars at our new job. If you missed that, please check the link that I'm going to post maybe up. I think I'll just post it down. So just check the link to watch that video. Today we are going to discover more ways to become rock stars at our new job. So it's a new team and you're most likely itching to find new ways to contribute, to find new ways to set the right tone for your long-term stay at the company. And thankfully, I have the right ways for you to be able to do that. So an easy first start is updating documents. So you could start with the documents you interacted with during your onboarding process. You could start with maybe adding paragraphs to the document or fixing paragraphs, adding more context, adding more visual illustrations to just make the document easier for the next person. The idea is to see the documents you interact with from a critical point to make the document better for the next person who is going to go through the onboarding process. I have a personal philosophy that the last person who was onboarded in the company is in the best position to make the onboarding process easier for the next people coming. So, and if you maybe work in a company where you feel there are no opportunities for you to update the onboarding documents, maybe you feel the onboarding documents were perfectly written, one of the things you can do, especially if you work in a tech company, is do a screen record of yourself installing softwares or the resources you need for your job during the onboarding process. As a software engineer, most times when I join a new company, I find myself navigating hoops to install softwares, even if it's tools like Docker and stuff. And it can be helpful to either maybe update the document or just do like a screen record video of yourself navigating the hoops, I've had a lot of issues installing Ansible on my system. And if you're a product designer, there may be apps you have to install and you just have to find ways around the installation. You could just do like a screen record. Those are valid ways for you to make important contributions to your team early on, and sends a message to the rest of your team that you pay attention to details and you care about the next person who's going to go through the same process. So you care about improving internal processes. So those are like some feedback you give to your team, and in my experience, everybody likes the person that just makes processes easier for the next person. So I feel this is an easy first start to contribute to your new team. Another thing you could do is offer yourself to people who are working on stuff. So you're most likely focused on onboarding. Your mindset is on getting the resources you need, understanding expectations, ensuring that you have access to the tools you need and stuff like that. And you might not even have a ticket yet. You might not have a task given to you by your manager because they want you to ease into the whole process. But this is an opportunity for you to show initiative. Like I said, the core of this series is to give you tips that makes you stand out from the rest of everybody who onboards at a new company. And fortunately, this is one of the ways you could do that. So look for someone within your team, look for people within your team who are working on projects and offer to help, offer to pair with them. As a software engineer, offer to pair code with them. As a product designer, just offer to pair design with them. Now, when you're doing this, I strongly advise against reaching out to them in your DM, because this is an opportunity to establish visibility within your team and to also build your confidence. So I strongly advise against sending DMs. I've done this before in previous companies, and I would say to you that visibility is very important, and it's also good to establish confidence early on. So my advice to you is to drop a message within your team group, within the private group your team itself uses. You don't need to drop this in the whole company-wide group. Just drop it within the group your team uses. And I dropped in the description a message I use and I feel would be useful for you you probably don't have if you probably find it difficult to maybe construct a message. So in the description, I have a message you could drop. If you feel you have like a good message to share with other folks, please just drop it in the comments. So like I said, doing this helps you to to establish visibility within your organization and to build your confidence. And it's also a good opportunity to test the waters, to get the ball rolling, because you get to work on a project and deliver a feature with someone who has context already within your organization. The next thing is grunt work, and I personally love grunt work. So most startups are growth focused. So everyone within the organization is working on the next big thing. Everyone is working on the next big feature to deliver value to customers. And in doing this, we usually create what we call depth. On the technical side, from engineers, we create tech depth. From the design side, we create design depth. And I think also from the point of product managers and other aspects in tech, we end up creating depth because we don't have time to perfect what we're working on. We are agile. We have to iterate. We need to deliver value to customers every day. But you're joining a new team, you're joining the team, and this is an opportunity for you to be the eye every other person in your organization does not have. So you have the opportunity to be the patient engineer who goes back, looks at, maybe, for instance, as an engineer, you go back, you look at services that don't have enough test coverage, you look at API params that could probably be worded, you look at functions that could be improved. You also even look at functions that you could maybe add more logs and stuff to it. As a designer, you could look for modals or forms that don't match or they're not consistent with other forms on the platform, maybe because the form was just done as an MVP to just test with customers, or maybe there's that newsletter pop up on your app that has been very, very wonky, but nobody has had time to fix it. So these are depths that you could pay attention to, you could fix it. And honestly, most teams I've worked with, people like the engineers who go back to make systems more healthy for them, who go back to make products more healthy for them. So I suggest that you do grunt work. Now, most organizations have like a formal structure for tracking depth, either technical depth or design depth. But if you're working in an organization that does not have a formal process, maybe it's an early stage startup and everybody's moving fast and they don't have most of these processes set yet, I would give you a tip for this. A simple tip you could use is to use the products. So try your best to use the products from a cynical and critical point of view. Your ideology is to find errors, find places for improvement while you're using the product. So you're using the product as a cynical user. You're using the product as a user who is finding faults. This gives you an opportunity to see depth. This gives you an opportunity to find grunt work that you could fix up. And it's a solid opportunity to contribute in your first 100 days to your new startup. Now, in the first part of this series, I made mention of something, and we are about to go into that realm. And maybe I need to take a more serious posture. I wish I had like a suit and a tie so everybody understands that this is very serious. So I said that the first 100 days is an opportunity for you to assess the chances of a long-term relationship with your company. I mentioned about understanding expectations, and I'm going to delve a bit deeper into key learnings you need to pay attention to, key processes you need to pay attention to, because it's going to affect your long-term stay with the organization. One of the key process you need to pay attention to is technical process. Now, in most companies, your manager or whoever your onboarding body is would pay attention to this. That's what happens most times. So your onboarding body would pay attention to ensuring that you get conversant with technical processes. For me, technical processes means your understanding of the business fundamentals, the products, the customers, the market segments, and stuff like that. So that's from a higher level. You have an appreciation of the products, the markets you are addressing, and why your product makes sense for that market. On a lower level, let's say from the side of software engineer, you understand how designs are done, how new features are worked on, how deployment is done, how pull requests are done. Those are all the technical processes you need to understand to deliver value every day. On a design perspective, and I'm not going to delve into this much, but you understand how features are worked on, how design reviews are done, how you guys do A and B testing and all that part. So in most organizations, people, your manager, whoever is handling your onboarding, would push this information to you because they believe it's important for you to deliver value. I would advise you to pay attention to this. Now, I know entry-level engineers or entry-level designers might not have a strong preference around technical processes, but you might end up working with an organization where they still use a flash drive to move files from their system to other system. You might be a designer who has read a lot about version control, design ops, and you join an organization who does not even care about any of this. They don't even care about the quality of their design process. if you care about your career and you feel that the challenge ahead of you within this organization is not sufficient enough for you to get to the next step in your career, then this is a red flag enough for you to end your contract before the end of the 100 days. Because like I said, it's important to assess that the organization you're joining matches your expectations from your career. Every job is a step in the ladder towards your career goal. So be careful and watch the technical processes within your organization. Now, the next thing is cultural processes. And honestly, I feel it's essential to know like the attitudes, behavioral norms that contribute to like the unique character of your organization. So every organization is different. When you see Stripe, one of the things that comes to my mind is their work rates, their attention to communication, their write-ups, their attention to design. When you look at Shopify, there's a different culture and character they're exhuming from their organization. When you look at Facebook, when you look at Instagram, when you look at Google and stuff. So these cultural processes within the organization is what gives the external character that we see and resonates with. Same thing with Apple and stuff. So when you join a startup, it's important for you to pay attention to this, especially at the low level, not just what the leaders within the organizations are saying. Go down to the low level and see how the guys within your team interact with you. So honestly, technical processes are important for you to deliver optimum work within your organization, but cultural processes affect your mental health. Cultural processes affect your satisfaction with the job and even extends beyond the job, because if you're sad, hungry, and frustrated at your work, you would maybe probably unleash that on people around you. So I would say pay attention to cultural processes within your organization, how people talk, if there is a shaming culture, if people are rude within your organization and stuff. So my advice is pay attention to this. Now, I personally don't believe there is perfect culture in any organization, and I think the word good culture might probably have been overflogged. For instance, there are organizations that feel like family, and there are people who don't want that. People just want to work in a place where they're allowed to work and just get home without necessarily having to build relationships, even semi-formal relationship or bonds with their employees and or their colleagues. So I would say find the culture that fits what you want. And that's why the word is culture fit. It's not good culture, perfect culture. So pay attention to this, pay attention to how your teammates interact and how leaders within your organization even interact with employees and stuff. Because if there's no culture fit between you and your organization, then you probably burn out very fast, or you just be depressed or frustrated at work. You get paid well, but you be frustrated at work. So I would say really pay attention to this. Finally, political process. Now, we can argue the importance or relevance of this, but in most organizations, I feel this information is largely ignored by hiring managers or onboarding bodies. I've onboarded people before, and I've also made the mistake of not communicating this to them. And I see political process from two angles: internal political process and external political process. So, internal political process is how decisions are made within your company. So do you guys have like a bottom up approach where people without titles, people without labels have the opportunity to contribute to the roadmap that their teams are working on, or have the opportunity to contribute to the holistic vision of the company? Or do you have like a top down approach where the engineering, the leadership teams, the CEOs and the likes are the ones who inform the rest of the team what they're going to be working on, and everybody just has to work on it? Or do you have like a mixture of both where you're allowed to contribute, and but to a very large extent the CEO or the leadership team in your company still have to be the one to approve and coordinate processes? So look at the internal process, look at the internal political process within your organization, and be sure that it aligns with you. There are certain people who always want to contribute. They feel they have domain knowledge, and they might be engineers, they might not be in the business team, so they might not necessarily have access to be able to affect business decisions, but they still want to work in a company that allows them, because maybe they're entrepreneurial, to give their ideas, to give their assessments, and they want to actively affect the roadmap. And they end up working in companies where the CEO or the leadership team don't want that from them. They just want them to do what they're instructed to do and stuff. So look at this, look at if it's a fit for you, because like I said, mismatch between yourself and your organization would affect you in the very long run. So I would say look out for this. Now, the next thing is external politics, and this is more dicey. So I'm going to take like a very deep breath here before I say it. Now, everybody experienced 2020, and we had different experiences from 2020. The pandemic hit us, and we had the BLM protest, and in Nigeria we had the NSAS protest, and a lot of things have been happening all around. Even just this year we have having stuff happening in Afghan and stuff, and this unfortunately affects our lives. These things affect every day of our life. They affect our emotions. They affect our interaction with friends. And a lot of people have had to sever their relationship with their friends because of their opinions with the BLM stuff. People had to leave startups because they found out their leadership teams had different opinions on world politics, and those opinions affected how their leadership team managed their company. So my advice to you is check and be sure of how much world politics would affect your organization. You could even take it an inch further by checking the political opinions of the leadership teams, especially the leadership teams that affect your day-to-day life and affect the vision of your company. If you don't align with the political opinions of your leadership team, then my advice to you is take the first door out. If you're an entry level engineer or software or designer, you might not have so much leverage to leave the job, but you should probably have a long term plan to leave when you acquire enough experience to get a job that matches your expectations. So, personally, my position on external politics is I'm not really bothered about the political position of my leadership team. I'm just concerned about the internal politics, how they allow me work and how they pay attention to the ideas I have. And I just want external politics to not affect my day-to-day life. But unfortunately, it's hard to have that because I've worked with different companies in different countries, and it's a repeated pattern where there are elections happening in the country, and in meetings, the usual time we have to banter, we end up talking about politics, either in between the meetings, at the end of the meetings, either you see people dropping links about the elections in their country. And I'm just a guy from Nigeria who, yeah, I care about what's happening in the country. I'm empathetic about my colleagues and their safety, but I don't want that information every day because I also have my shit that I'm dealing with here in Nigeria. So those are some of the things that I am usually cautious of. So I watch out for those stuff. I watch out for companies where world politics, external politics affects our day-to-day work. If you're very political, then look for a company that aligns with your political vision, with your political position. If you're not political, still check because of and still pay attention to this because over time your position on politics might change or your leadership's position on politics might change. And the moment you feel that there is a friction between your position and their position, you could maybe have a conversation with your manager or with the leadership team. And if you notice that it's not forthcoming, my advice is to take the next step out and keep your safety, keep your mental health, keep yourself happy because honestly, you don't want to spend 9 to 5 every day at the job, angry, depressed, frustrated. So, this my advice around key processes for you to pay attention to. Pay attention to technical processes, pay attention to cultural processes, pay attention to political processes because they affect your long-term relationship at your organization. So it's a wrap, and I'm sure that you're now rock stars at your new job. Drop a comment if you found this series useful. If you have questions, still drop a comment. Subscribe, hit the notification bell. I'm going to be dropping more videos like this. So, like I said, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Once again, I'm Ayomi Deregbede, and I share tips from my experience building a career in tech. See you next time. See you next time.